I'd now like to invite Mike O'Brien, who's the chair of the group, to come forward to speak. Mike.
We came together as a working group, if memory serves me right, for the first time in about June or July this year. Not all of us knew everybody on the group. We all knew parts of the group. And I have not, in all the kind of pieces of work that I've done over the years, worked with a group that has worked so energetically, thoughtfully, constructively on any project. And it's been really enormous for me to have an opportunity to work with a group who was clear about what they were doing, why they were doing it, what they could contribute. And I think we've seen that all the way through. And the 3 or 4 points I want to make coming out of the report. Firstly, I think we would accept and agree, it's one of the few things we'd agree with the Welfare Working Group on, there needs to be a review of welfare, but it needs to be comprehensive, not the narrow frame that the government group is currently working with. And that means thinking about welfare, health, education, housing, and so on together. Secondly, I think I want to acknowledge and take up the point Mike made. It was very clear to us that the groups that we met with, the beneficiaries we talked to, the community groups we met with, wanted to participate in the process, had a real commitment about trying to do some things that began to make some changes and to see some things that happen, and there was a real energy about that. One of the really important pieces for us is to say, well look, yes, paid work matters, so does caring work, so does voluntary work, and so there's a far too narrow a focus in the current debates around what are we, around the limited concentration on paid work and what does that mean and the implications of that. There needs to be, I think, if we want to really make some shift on welfare reform, some real attention to what are the values that inform that. What are the values that arise out of the treaty and its commitments? What are the values that arise out of New Zealand's history? What kind of a society do we want to build? And so, second last point, I think we saw, heard, and I guess had reinforced for many of us the enormously unacceptable and intolerable levels of poverty that has become now so bedded into New Zealand society. And there's a desperate need on all sorts of fronts to take that issue seriously. The Welfare Working Group won't attend to that, and it's poverty that's the critical issue, I think, not the issue of dependency. As part of that, we heard some really significant, awful and horrendous, I guess, stories about people's frontline and on the ground kind of experiences at work and income offices that left us, I think, left me anyway, others will speak for themselves on that, really aghast about what is going on the front line, which is not just about staff, some of it is, but it's also about the climate within which welfare is currently being delivered.
Just to add my thanks to Mike's, particularly to Caritas and Lisa and Stephen for all their work, because while we were the commission group who heard the submissions and went around the country and wrote the report, without the help of Caritas and Lisa and Stephen, this would never have happened. It's been an amazing process in 5 months to get actually 2 reports together, because there is a second one about what we heard, which describes what Mike was talking about, what we heard all around the country and in the submissions, and then the second report which is being launched today.
Kia ora koutou, ka nui taku mihi kia koutou, kua whakarau ika nei mo tēnei kaupapa tino whakahirahira, ko Māmari Stevens tōku ingoa. I'm Māmari Stevens, one of the members of the group here, and I too want to pay my respects and my admiration to my fellow members of the group, and also particularly to Bishop Muru Walters, who couldn't be with us today. I just want to acknowledge him as well.
Nothing about us without us. It's a very good mantra. I think the Act really does need to have more about human rights.
And on behalf of the group, can I formally hand this to you? It's getting heavy for me to hold. Acknowledge the work, the mahi, the thought, the care that has gone into it, and hope, I guess, that it will be a significant contribution to the work that lies ahead.
Especially, this wouldn't have happened without all the people that participated, because that's what this was really about. This was about making sure that voices, the real voices of the real people who needed to be heard on these issues actually got heard.
Fundamental to social welfare and social security, there are principles which we must inform ourselves with. The first and the primary one is that we have a collective responsibility for each other as members of the human family. We secondly proclaim that the vulnerable members of our human family in our dealing with, our dealing for, our structuring for the vulnerable is the actual standard by which we as a community will be judged. We believe, and we put as a principle for all welfare reform, solidarity with those who are going through periods of hardship, whether it be due to unemployment, illness, disability, or in actual fact anything else. Last principle, we have responsibility for the common good of our society. So, this document is formed by those principles, and we have received it with thanks. We actually offer it to you and say, please take it, please read it, please be informed, and please make your contribution to the debate on the future of this society, of the welfare, and of the way in which we care for those who are most in need.
I believe that this report is so important because how are people's voices actually going to be heard unless there are groups within society who can bring those things together? And what we've done here, and what Caritas is so excited about, is that a group of the Beneficiaries Association, the Anglican Commission and ourselves have managed to come together and get academics, lawyers to in actual fact focus on what the needs of people are and what their voices are, and to put it into a form which can then be used. So I think it's always important to have a reputable, good research, which then, rather than just our polemic, and that then we can adapt and bring that to the use of our principles, to our beliefs, and then put it into action.